The early settlement in the Wendelin area was marked by pioneer hardships, German fortitude, a deep devotion to the Catholic faith, and ultimately a vote that would shape the future of the community. During the 1840s, the Ohio-Mississippi Railroad was built to the south, which was bringing many new families to the area. Irish Catholic laborers, and by 1857, the first German Catholics began arriving from southwest Indiana, where they had spent a few years after immigrating during the early 1850s. These early families, who had already faced many difficult challenges, made this journey to build a better life for themselves and their children, and they felt they could only succeed through hard work and dedication to their faith. Early Catholic pioneers in the Wendelin area were administered the sacraments by priests from Vincennes and Kentucky. These priests visited St. Marie, Illinois, an early French Catholic settlement which served as a center for Catholics in this region. At the request of George Fembarker, Reverend John Sandrock, pastor of St. Marie, first said Mass in the Wendelin area at the home of Paul Gumbel in 1859. Father Sandrock was a tall, thin man in his mid-20s who spoke low German. During those early years, he would stay with the Gumbel family while performing pastoral services for the St. Wendel area. Father Sandrock would ride his Texas pony in full gallop through the woodland and prairie land from St. Marie once every 4 weeks to say Mass several times each trip, in addition to marrying couples and baptizing children. Mass regularly took place in the parlor room of the home of Adam Desch, and beginning in 1865, he would stay with the Desch family while visiting the area. Because Mass only took place monthly, it was up to those early settlers to remain steadfast in their faith. Dedicated members such as Adolph Rudolphi, Max Desch, and Killian Hineshear held catechism classes 3 to 4 months a year. With the growing community, the need for a church arose. On January 22, 1860, in a meeting held at the home of Adam Desch, it was decided to erect a church named for St. Ignatius. Adam Desch would donate 1 acre of his farm for a church and adjoining cemetery, which was located 2.5 miles south of present-day Wendelin. The deed for the church and cemetery was given to Bishop Junker of Alton. In 1857, Illinois was divided into 2 Catholic dioceses, the southern half belonging to the Diocese of Alton. The first parish officers selected for St. Ignatius were Adam Desch, George Fembarker, and Christian Kistner. A parish meeting was held the first Sunday of each month, and any debt incurred by the parish required all members to pay their part, and no one was permitted to leave the parish without paying their share of the remainder of debt that they owed. Early records show how diligently the men worked to erect the church. Those that couldn't work paid their part, 75 cents per man, and less in case of illness. Logs for the church were cut at a nearby farm and hauled by oxen, and the logs were dressed and fitted. A little belfry was built, and in it hung a little school bell. Anton Weber made the vestment case and communion rail. The altar was made in Newton for $15. There was no sacristy, so the priest dressed behind the altar. A confessional was built, and pews were made by hand, but not rented. People sat wherever they wanted to. The St. Ignatius Church was dedicated on January 1, 1861. Built large enough to accommodate 30 families, it was 20 feet wide by 24 feet long and 12 feet high. It had a 14 wide by 12 foot deep and 10 foot high choir loft. The men would go upstairs to sing songs in German while the women and children sat downstairs. A year later, in 1862, the church was plastered halfway to the rafters and papered. In 1863, the name of the parish was changed to St. John the Baptist. The reason for the change is lost to history. By 1867, a total of 38 families were members of the parish. Father Sandrock, in addition to his pastoral duties at St. Marie, continued to minister to St. John's, and oversaw the building of the first Catholic church in Olney. By 1870, the pastor of Olney was assigned to the Wendelin area. Father Sandrock would remain pastor of St. Mary's and St. Marie until 1872 before his transfer to Olney. While attending to some of the smallpox sufferers during the epidemic, he would himself die from the disease at the age of 39 on May 10, 1873. As more German settlers arrived, the church became overcrowded, and it was apparent that a larger church was needed for the growing community. These new settlers settled more into Jasper County, farther north and west, some as much as 10 to 12 miles distance from St. John's. The parish became divided over the location of the new church, with some wanting a new church built a half-mile east of the current St. John's Church, while others wanted to transfer the site of the parish to St. Wendel, as it was known at the time. A vote was taken in 1870 with an equal amount of votes for each location. The decision was referred to the Bishop of Alton to cast the deciding vote. Bishop Bolts voted to build the new church at the St. Wendel location. Although the decision was made, the dissatisfied members wanting the church to remain at the present location would build a new St. John's frame church in 1872, a half a mile east of the old church along the Clay-Richland County line on 3 acres that Adam Desch owned. The bishop refused to send the church a resident priest, but the church continued for many years. During that turbulent 1870 year, John Klingler hauled his church organ to St. John's Church, where one half of the parish still gathered. He would also haul that same organ to a one-room log building where Mass was temporarily being said in St. Wendel until the first church at the present location was complete. By the turn of the century, the parish of St. John's had faded, with some members eventually joining the new Holy Cross Parish. The early Catholic pioneers to the area showed their courage, determination, and unyielding faith in God. Today, all that remains of the early Catholic community of St. Ignatius, later called St. John's, is this cemetery, maintained by the new parish of Holy Cross that would grow from their Catholic roots.